If I Must Die by Refaat Alareer. If I must die, you must live, to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings, make it white with a long tail, so that a child, somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze, and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale. Think of Others by Mahmoud Darwish. As you prepare your breakfast, think of others. Do not forget to feed the pigeons. As you wage your wars, think of others. Do not forget those who fight for peace. As you pay your water bill, think of others, those who are nursed by clouds. As you return home, to your home, think of others. Do not forget the people of the camps. As you sleep and count the stars, think of others, those who have nowhere to sleep. As you liberate yourself with metaphors, think of others, those who have lost the right to speak. As you think of others far away, think of yourself and say, if only I were a candle in the night. How I Became by Ghayath Almadhoun. Her grief fell from the balcony and broke into pieces, so she needed a new grief. When I went with her to the market, the prices were unreal, so I advised her to buy a used grief. We found one in excellent condition, although it was a bit big. As the vendor told us, it belonged to a young poet who had killed himself the previous summer. She liked this grief, so we decided to take it. We argued with the vendor over the price, and he said he'd give us an angst dating from the 60s as a free gift if we bought the grief. We agreed, and I was happy with this unexpected angst. She sensed this and said, "It's yours." I took it and put it in my bag, and we went off. In the evening, I remembered it and took it out of the bag and examined it closely. It was high quality and in excellent condition despite half a century of use. The vendor must have been unaware of its value, otherwise he wouldn't have given it to us in exchange for buying a young poet's low-quality grief. The thing that pleased me the most about it was that it was existentialist angst, meticulously crafted and containing details of extraordinary subtlety and beauty. It must have belonged to an intellectual with encyclopedic knowledge or a former prisoner. I began to use it, and insomnia became my constant companion. I became an enthusiastic supporter of peace negotiations and stopped visiting relatives. There were increasing numbers of memoirs in my bookshelves, and I no longer voiced my opinion, except on rare occasions. Human beings became more precious to me than nations, and I began to feel a general ennui, but what I noticed most was that I had become a poet. Palestine A to Z by Mosab Abu Toha. A. An apple that fell from the table on a dark evening when man-made lightning flashed through the kitchen, the streets, and the sky, rattling the cupboards and breaking the dishes. Am is the linking verb that follows I in the present tense when I am no longer present, when I am shattered. B. A book that doesn't mention my language or my country and has maps of every place except for my birthplace, as if I were an illegitimate child on Mother Earth. Borders are those invented lines drawn with ash on maps and sewn into the ground by bullets. C. Gaza is a city where tourists gather to take photos next to destroyed buildings or graveyards. A country that exists only in my mind. Its flag has no room to fly freely, but there is space on the coffins of my countrymen. D. Dar means house. My grandparents left their house behind in 1948 near Jaffa Beach. A tree my father told me about stood in the front yard. Dreams of children and their parents, of listening to songs or watching plays at Al-Mishal Cultural Center. Israel destroyed it in August 2018. I hate August, but plays are still performed in Gaza. Gaza is the stage. E. an email account that I used when the power was on, the email through which I smelled overseas air. I used it first to send photos to my aunt in Jordan, who we last saw in 2000. How easy it becomes to recognize what kind of aircraft it is, an F-16, helicopter, or a drone. What kind of bullet it was, from a gunboat, an M16, a tank, or an Apache. It's all about the sound. F. Friends from school, from the neighborhood, from childhood. The books in my living room in Gaza, the poems in my notebooks, still lonely. The 3 friends I lost to the 2014 onslaught, Izzat, Ammar, and Ismail. Izzat was born in Algeria, Ammar in Jordan, Ismail on a farm. We buried them all under the cold ground. Fish in our sea that the fishermen cannot catch because the Israeli gunboats care about sea life in the Mediterranean. They once fished at the Gaza beach with a barrage of shells, and Huda Khalia lost her father, stepmother, and 5 siblings in June 2006. I walked in their funeral procession to the cemetery. Blood was still fresh on their clothes. They had poured out some perfume to cover the stench. Over time, my hate for perfume grew intense. G. How are you, Mosab? I'm good. I hate this word. It has no meaning to me. Your English is good, Mosab. Thanks. When I was asked to fill out a form for my US J1 visa application, my country, Palestine, was not on the list. But lucky for me, my gender was. H. If a helicopter stops in the sky over Gaza, we know it's going to shoot a rocket. It doesn't see if a target is close to children playing marbles or soccer in the street. My friend Elise told me hey is a slang word and shouldn't be used. English teachers would faint at what goes on today in written English, she said. I. Images on the walls of buildings, a child who was shot by an Israeli sniper or killed during an air raid en route to school. Her picture was placed on her desk at school. Her picture stares at the blackboard while the heir sits in her chair. I wake up ill when gloomy ideas about what might have happened to me come in my dreams. What if I had stopped for a few seconds at the window when a bullet from nowhere ripped through the glass? J. Once I sent a picture of my desk in Gaza to a friend in the United States. I wanted to show that I was fine. On the desk were some books, my laptop, and a glass of strawberry juice. When I sent that photo, I was jobless. About 47% of people in Gaza have no work, but while writing these lines, I'm trying to start a literary magazine. I still don't know what to name it. K. My grandfather kept the key to his house in Jaffa in 1948. He thought they would return in a few days. His name was Hassan. The house was destroyed. Others built a new one in its place. Hassan died in Gaza in 1986. The key has rusted but still exists somewhere, longing for the old wooden door. In Gaza, you don't know what you're guilty of. It feels like living in a Kafka novel. L. I speak Arabic and English, but I don't know in what language my fate is written. I'm not sure if that would change anything. Light is the opposite of heavy or dark. In Gaza, when the electricity is cut off, we turn on the lights, even in broad daylight. That way, we know when the power's back. M. Marhaba means hi or welcome. We say marhaba to everyone we see. It's like a warm hug. We don't use it, however, when soldiers or their bullets or bombs visit us. Such guests not only leave their shit, but also take everything we have. My dad used to prepare milk for us with some kirshala before school. I was in 3rd grade, and my mother was at hospital taking care of my brother. My brother died in 2016. N. In 2014, about 2,139 people were killed. 579 of them were children. Around 11,100 were wounded. Around 13,000 buildings were destroyed. I lost 3 friends. But it's not about numbers. Even years, they're not numbers. A nail is used to join 2 pieces of wood or to hang things on the wall. In 2009, the Israelis targeted an ambulance with a nail bomb near my house. Some were killed. I saw many nails on our neighbor's newly painted wall. Oh. Jaffa is known around the world for its oranges. My grandmother, Khadra, tried to take some oranges with her in 1948, but the shelling was heavy. The oranges fell on the ground. The earth drank their juice. It was sweet, I'm sure. In Gaza, we had a clay oven that our neighbor Munir built for us. When my mother wanted to bake, I fed it wood stems or cardboard to heat it for the bread. The woody stems were made from dried plants: pepper, eggplant, and corn stalks. P. A poem is not just words placed on a line. It's a cloth. Mahmoud Darwish wanted to build his home, his exile, from all the words in the world. I weave my poems with my veins. I want to build a poem like a solid home, but hopefully not with my bones. On July 23, 2014, a friend called and said, "Izzat was killed." I asked, "Which Izzat?" "Izzat, your friend." My phone slipped from my hand, and I began to run, not knowing where. "What's your name?" "Mosab." "Where are you from?" "Palestine." "What's your mother tongue?" "Arabic, but she's sick." "What's the color of your skin?" "There is not enough light to help me see." Q. We were watching a soccer match. Comments and shouts filled the room. The power was cut off, and everything became quiet. We could hear our breathing in the dark. Al-Quds is Arabic for Jerusalem. I have never been to Al-Quds. It's around 60 miles from Gaza. People who live 5,000 miles away can move there, while I cannot even visit. R. I was born in November. My mother told me she was walking on the beach with my father. It turned stormy and began to rain. My mother felt pain, and an hour later, she gave birth to me. I love the rain and the sea, the last two things I heard before I came into this horrible world. S. I like to go to the beach and watch the sun as it sinks into the sea. She's going to shine on nicer places, I think to myself. My son's name is Yazan. He was born in 2015, or a year after the 2014 war. This is how we date things. Once he saw a swarm of clouds. He shouted, "Dad, some bombs! Watch out!" He thought the clouds were bomb smoke. Even nature confuses us. Tea. In summer, I drink tea with mint. In winter, I add dried sage. Anyone who visits, even if it's a neighbor knocking at the door to ask about what day or date it is, I offer them tea. Offering tea is like saying marhaba. They once said Palestine will be free tomorrow. When is tomorrow? What is freedom? How long does it last? You. It wasn't raining that day, but I took my umbrella anyway. When an F-16 flew over the town, I opened my umbrella to hide. Kids thought I was a clown. In August 2014, Israel bombed my university's administration building. The English department was turned into a ruin. My graduation ceremony got postponed. Families of the dead attended to receive not a degree, but a portrait of their child. V. When we moved from Cambridge to Syracuse, I looked out the window of the U-Haul van. What a huge country America is, I thought. Why did Zionists occupy Palestine and still build settlements and kill us in Gaza and the West Bank? Why don't they live here in America? Why can't we come here to live and work? My friend heard me. He was from Ireland. We both loved the Liverpool Football Club. In Gaza, you can find a man planting a rose in the hollow space of an unexploded tank shell, using it as a vase. W. One day we were sleeping in our house. A bomb fell on a nearby farm at 6 a.m., like an alarm clock, waking us up early for school. In August 2014, after the 51 days of Israeli onslaught, the walls of my room had more windows than when I left, windows that would no longer close. Winter was harsh on us. X. When I was wounded in January 2009, I was 16. I was taken to hospital and x-rayed for the first time. There were 2 pieces of shrapnel in my body, one in my neck, another in my forehead. 7 months later, I had my first surgery to remove them. I was still a child. For Christmas, a friend gave the kids a xylophone. It had 1 wooden row. The bars were of different lengths and colors: red, yellow, green, blue, purple, and white. The kids showed it to their grandparents back in Gaza, whose eyes danced while the kids smiled. Why? Yafa is my daughter's name. I put my ears near her mouth when she speaks, and I hear Yafa's sea, waves lapping against the shore. I look in her eyes, and I see my grandparents' footsteps still imprinted on the sand. How did you leave Gaza? Do you plan to return? You should stay in the U.S. You mustn't think of going back to Gaza. Things people say to me. Z. When I was in the 5th grade, our science teacher wanted us to visit a zoo, to see the animals, listen to their sounds, watch how they walk and sleep. When I went there, they were bored, gave me their back. They lived in cages in a caged place. We use a zero article with most proper nouns. My name and that of my country have an extra zero in front, like when you call overseas. But we have been pulled down beneath the seas. Do you see what I mean? Fuck your lecture on craft. My people are dying. By Noor. Colonizers write about flowers. I tell you about children throwing rocks at Israeli tanks seconds before becoming daisies. I want to be like those poets who care about the moon. Palestinians don't see the moon from jail cells and prisons. It's so beautiful, the moon. They're so beautiful, the flowers. I pick flowers for my dead father when I'm sad. He watches Al Jazeera all day. I wish Jessica would stop texting me Happy Ramadan. I know I'm American because when I walk into a room, something dies. Metaphors about death are for poets who think ghosts care about sound. When I die, I promise to haunt you forever. One day, I'll write about the flowers like we own them. Against, by Rashid Hussein. I am against my country's revolutionaries wounding an ear of wheat. Against the child, any child, holding a grenade. Against my sister, studying the muscles of a gun. Against it all. But what can a prophet, a prophetess, do when their eyes are forced to drink the sight of the raiders' hordes? I am against my child becoming a hero at 10. Against the tree flowering explosives. Against the branches becoming gallows. Against the flower beds becoming trenches. Against it all. But after fire raises my country, my friends, my land, how can I stop my poems from becoming guns? My House, by Maya Abu Al-Hayyat. None of the many houses I lived in concerned me. After the 3rd house, I lost interest, but lately my organs and body parts have been complaining of unexplainable ailments. My arms extend higher than a tree, my acromegaly, and when I run, it's at inconsistent speeds. The important thing is to pass those walking closest to me, leave them behind before they leave me. A Tunisian doctor told my dad, "It's a psychiatric condition." I had liked her and considered her a house before she spoke that sentence, which caused a lot of bruises and brought down the house. I read several texts I took for houses and stayed in them a while. Liquid Mirrors was a crazy abode in which I forgot my first love. There were magazines, too, ARCHIVAL, Poets, and Aquas. Then I studied engineering, specialized in earthquakes to build houses whose foundations resist climates and the unpredicted. My children dug up a trench for me and said, "Here, rest a bit, Mom." But trenches leave marks on skin as if on a field, and the birds gathered and pecked my seeds after the field had drowned in stagnant water. In a text, I can build a house with windows and balconies that overlook galaxies and stars, paint it with the writings of Amjad Nasser, who said that for the sake of a solid house, one should distinguish between imagination and knowledge, even if the house is built on illusion. I will raise my house on the backs of horses that will carry it to the fields. There my legs will pause. A Rose Shoulders Up, by Mosab Abu Toha. Don't ever be surprised to see a rose shoulder up among the ruins of the house. This is how we survived.